First, I'll do a small introduction on myself. I'm Karine Neves, Head of Operational Management at Compliance HSBC. And today we're doing a fireside chat with Yewande Akinola. And I've read a fair bit about you. And you're a very inspirational young lady, firstly. So today it's all about you. We can go through some questions if you like, but I thought we'd actually start and just see how the conversation goes with an introduction to yourself, your very interesting bio, and then what it is that brought you to this event to start with.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you very much for being part of this as well. I'm looking forward to our conversation. My name is Yewande Akinola, and I guess the way I always first introduce myself is by stating I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer. I work in the construction industry, building anything from schools to residential buildings to hotels, I know train stations, airports, you name it. If I go way back a little bit, I started off with a massive interest in buildings. From a very young age, I would spend hours on end building models of what I thought would be better living spaces to exist in. And for a long time, I imagined that I would become an architect. But then along the way, explored engineering as an option. Mom came into my room one day and said, "Hey, how about you consider engineering?" And I thought about it. I still wasn't sure, but I ended up studying engineering, and I've worked as an engineer for, I'd say, about 15 years maybe now, working on projects all over the world. I've worked on projects in this country, in the Middle East. I've worked on some really cool water and sanitation projects in African countries, worked on projects in the Far East as well. And that's kind of a summarized version of my career so far.
Yeah, and even in that short summary, it sounds like a lot's been achieved. It was really nice actually to hear you say that your mum came to you and said, "What about engineering?" I think that's just inspirational in itself. From the family side, do you have siblings that are doing a similar thing, or are you an outlier? What's going on there?
Yeah, gosh, actually, that's true. Yeah, no, I've never actually thought of it, but I might be the only engineer. I think there's a chemical engineer somewhere in the family. I tell you what, I was inspired as well by quite a number of uncles around me. I grew up, with some incredible, well, I guess father figures who were engineers. My grandfather was an engineer, so I heard so many incredible stories. He was a civil engineer. He designed and built bridges. So I heard so many incredible stories growing up as a child, and I think there were some of his books, left in our home library when I was growing up, and I always just I'd open them, look at them, and go, okay, right, this looks a little bit too difficult for me. But then there was that, there was that backdrop. There was definitely that backdrop of engineering. Definitely.
It all makes sense now. Yeah. That's lovely. That's so nice. And then also in some of what I've read, you're award-winning, which is just even greater to hear. Can you tell us a bit about that, the awards, and what it means for you as a female, a Black female in this industry?
Every time I really think about, well, I guess the awards and the seeming success, to a certain extent, it's been a source of encouragement. My first award was, I think in 2012. I'd been working as a young, engineer, working through a graduate program, and then coming into the engineer stage where I wasn't just learning, I was starting to find my voice as an engineer. And that period was one of self-realization, right? Really just trying to work out what I was about, what my true interests were. And as I did that, I, obviously would think about creativity as being right at the heart of what I did. And seeing that then come to light and come to, you know, a, you know, a point where people thought, oh my gosh, her applying that creativity, is worth, us awarding her the recognition, was just amazing. That gave me a lot of validation to carry on in the line of thinking that I was, very excited about. Creativity has always been right at the heart of what I do as an engineer. It's the only way I understand engineering. I'm designing a school or designing, a hotel. The fact that I'm designing for people, either in my community, designing for people that I know maybe might even be in my family, is the only way I'm able to actually really interpret and appreciate what I'm doing. And to see those creative ideas around sustainable design, around ensuring that the building is interactive for people to be able to enjoy and get that validation has been amazing. And that has really helped me along the line, right? It's helped me, for the last 10 years, especially, where it's just been a great constant, for me to know that I've gotten that validation in creativity and I can carry on. And that's brought the other awards. That's encouraged me to put myself out there as well, which is very, very important. And that's encouraged me to work with some really cool teams as well.
Thank you. You're very passionate when you speak, and it's just great to see and hear. And I mean, I'm sure there's plenty, but the favorite project, like what is it that you're most proud of, or a project that you've been involved in that you think that to this date, because there's going to be many more, to this date, that's the one that stands out for me, and why?
Okay, so this is a funny story, right? A few years ago, I decided I was gonna, kind of up my game a little bit, right? I decided I was going to move out to China and work on like super high-rise structures there. Now, this was me. I could barely use chopsticks, right? I was that naive to the culture, the language, everything. But I was just fascinated by the incredible projects I was seeing come out of China in the built environment space. Anyway, so I asked for the opportunity to move out there. It came through. I packed my bags, went out there. Obviously, like had to go through a period of adjustment to be able to use chopsticks, to be able to learn, basic Mandarin, to be able to move around. And then after working on, several projects, I landed this incredible hotel and water park project. I don't know if you know Atlantis in Dubai, but it's a sister version of the Atlantis. It's in southern in southern China. So, really like futuristic looking, like hotel building, lazy river all through it, dolphin aquariums or dolphin stadiums and aquariums, and all the things that you can imagine that just bring a water park to life. And I got the opportunity to work with the local team, to work with the local design institutes, to work with architects based out in New York, to work with some fantastic engineers. And now when I look at it, you know, it's been built, completed, people actually go on holiday and experience it, you know. And when I look at, you know, like videos of it and watch videos of it, it just really fills me with pride, because you know, it was an opportunity to really, you know, throw myself into a different culture, throw myself into a great project, and overcome some big challenges as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I feel like I could just ask questions about that project in itself and your experience in China, because I feel like that's going to have lots of stories. And moving on, and off the back of that, if you could, or an ideal project, if you could do something anywhere in the world, where would it be and what type of project?
Oh gosh, right. That's a very difficult question. But you know what? The thing I love about engineering is the multi-applicability of engineering concepts. So coming up with the solution for a great project here in this country is also applicable to, you know, other parts of the world. And when I look at the African landscape at the moment, you know, and I think of all the incredible opportunities for designing fantastic buildings that really leapfrog from, you know, what would have been designing 20 years ago. Buildings that are able to use the best of Internet of Things, buildings that are able to use the best of solar energy, buildings that are able to, you know, really use the best of, you know, water sustainability. I get super excited, you know, and it would be wonderful to be able to design a smart city, an incredible smart city somewhere in Africa that then becomes the blueprint for, you know, the built environment moving forward.
That sounds like a wonderful idea, and it can happen. It can happen.
Yes,
You know, we're at this event, we're surrounded by people from all industries. You know, you can make some connections and see what we can do. I guess so. If anyone else was interested in engineering, making their way into that space, what advice would you give? And what advice, not just around a career move, but also with the passion that you have, what is it that the interest needs to be?
I would say the interest would be creativity and social impact. You know, we are surrounded by engineering from literally the moment when we wake up, like, you know, the moment we wake up, you know, as we wash our teeth, as we, you know, shower, you know, we get out of our houses, you know, get into our cars, drive to location or get on the train. Maybe not so much now, but we are surrounded by engineering. So I would say, if, you know, you were interested in creativity, in problem solving, in bringing social impact and improving the lives of people, you know, by giving them better living conditions, I'd say go for it. A lot of people think engineering is difficult. You know, there's that, you know, notion that you have to be really good at maths and really good at physics and, you know, really good at, you know, the sciences. But I offer a slightly different, you know, perspective on that. I'm like, yes, you need to understand the maths, you know, you need to understand the physics. I don't think you have to be like, you know, a genius in physics and maths and chemistry. I think you need to be able to understand how you can use basic principles to bring social impact and creativity to life, you know, and knowing the basic principles, you know, then puts you in a position where you can apply it to whatever that wildest imagination is, you know, to then move things ahead. So I would say that I think it's a very fulfilling career. I just, you know, I'm extremely grateful I chose this route. You know, I get satisfaction from my job. And sometimes it feels better than a job. I'm able to connect with some incredible minds too, which is wonderful.
that's just love the passion.
Mhm.
And I guess of that, are there any challenges in your industry? What would you say, if anything, keeps you up at night, or even going forward, would you see the challenges emerging in the future in your industry?
Yes. There are a few challenges. I mean, well, speaking from, the Black woman's perspective, right? If I'm allowed to,
Of course.
yeah, of course I'm allowed to. you know, um, it sometimes feels like the industry needs to evolve to accept the creativity, color, energy, that we bring, right? Um, and there are parts of the industry that absolutely get it and embrace it. And there are parts of the industry that haven't just moved with the times to see the incredible, benefit to businesses that diversity of thought brings to the industry, and that's a challenge, because we're saying we want to develop teams of people working in the industry, teams that reflect the people that our industry serves. So whether it's the school, we're designing and building, we want the people who design the schools to reflect the students and reflect what their needs would be, reflect their culture, reflect their interest, and reflect their ambitions and passions. So I would say that's my first challenge. And I'd say also the industry is going through a stage of evolution, right? Really to start to become associated with innovation and new thinking. And thankfully, we've got external factors really, really shaking things up. You've got like the construction tech industry coming in. You've got the tech industry really disrupting things. And all of a sudden, the construction industry is saying, you know what? We're going to have to sit up, otherwise we're going to be left behind. And that is wonderful to see, because I can only expect that to progress.
Indeed. I think we're due to finish in a couple of minutes, so I was going to end with something a bit more personal, and I wondered, what is it you do in your spare time to let your hair down? You have fun.
Yeah, I try to. I spend a lot of my time engaging and speaking with people. That's something I totally like. I speak to young people, obviously about, career options. I'm very interested in television, so I've presented a few TV programs, engineering TV programs. I come up with ideas for like kids programs and things as well. I love reading. I love just a girly catch up with my girls, with my family. I've got a 3-year-old, so she keeps me very busy asking lots of questions as well. And dancing is something I love doing because it just relaxes me, and listening to music. That would be me.
That's lovely. Well, I think that I would love to have had someone like you to look up to when I was younger. I think you're very inspirational. I love the way that you speak with enthusiasm. I think doing more of the kids programs definitely would be something that this world needs. I thank you very much for your time. I think it's been inspirational to myself, and I'm sure that everyone else that's watching this and will watch this later on will agree. So thank you for your time. I hope you get to view some of the other events that are going on today. There's quite a few topics that may be of interest, especially to someone in engineering. And yeah, thank you very
so
much,
Karine. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you. It really has. Thank you.